You don't feel what you feel. You're only resonating the silent imprint of a memory you never lived. That anxiety, that guilt, that self-doubt, they're not emotions. They're frequencies. And those frequencies were embedded in your body long before you could choose. What you call personality is often just trauma with good posture. You aren't reacting to the world. You're vibrating through someone else's pain. You believe your identity is a product of choice. But what you call "I'm just like this" is often an emotional echo passed down by blood. Your fear of receiving isn't about modesty. Your need to overperform isn't about excellence. Your inability to ask for help isn't self-sufficiency. These are inherited patterns embedded in your emotional DNA. Your body isn't just yours. It's the archive of your lineage. You carry shame when you feel joy, guilt when you succeed, fear when you stand out. And you think this is humility. But it's loyalty. Loyalty to pain that isn't yours. Jung called it the collective unconscious. In your case, it's collective vibration. It's your grandmother's grief vibrating in your throat. Your great-grandfather's humiliation stuck in your spine. And until you decode who's truly feeling through you, you'll keep calling it just how I am. And why now? Because the real global crisis isn't economic or political, it's vibrational. We're living through a spiritual bandwidth collapse. Millions of fragmented bodies running on inherited emotional software. Burnout, anxiety, spiritual fatigue, all symptoms of collective trauma pretending to be personality. If you don't shut off the old code, it will keep choosing your relationships, your failures, your limits. I say this not as a teacher. I say this as someone who nearly died carrying frequencies that were never mine. When I reprogrammed my emotional field, the world didn't change. I did. And that was enough for everything else to shift. This isn't healing. It's vibrational defection. And it begins now. You were trained to ignore the vibrational intelligence of your body. Since childhood, you were taught to prioritize logic, performance, and obedience, while heavy emotions were labeled weakness, excess, or immaturity. Stop crying. Be strong. Don't be dramatic. These were the first spells cast over your nervous system. You didn't learn to feel. You learned to function. And in doing so, your natural frequency was overwritten by survival code. School didn't teach you how to decode your own emotions. It trained you to memorize, conform, and suppress. You were taught historical dates, but never taught the emotional timestamps that truly shaped you. The day you learned love had conditions. The day you swallowed a scream to be accepted. The day you realized joy made others uncomfortable. These moments didn't just become memories, they became scripts. And now, as an adult, you call that your personality. As you grew, you built characters. Subtle masks designed to protect you from rejection. The nice one, the wise one, the chill one. But those masks came at a cost. Vibrational fragmentation. The more you adapted, the more disconnected you became from your core frequency. And today your body aches, your boundaries collapse, your joy feels unsafe. You chase techniques to heal what was never yours to carry in the first place. Culture itself vibrates in scarcity, rush, pressure, fear. And unless you build an inner field strong enough to resist absorption, you'll always reflect the noise around you. You don't think, you resonate. You don't decide, your inherited field does. The matrix doesn't program you with laws. It uses frequencies. And you've been vibrating in someone else's fear your entire life. What's worse is that we've normalized this. We call numbness strength, anxiety drive, and emotional shutdown professionalism. But the cost is severe. Vibrational fatigue, internal silence, chronic misalignment. You don't need more tools. You need a return to your signal, unfiltered, unpolished, raw. You no longer know where you end and the ghosts inside you begin. Your psyche has been split into roles, each one a defense, a compensation, a shield. The high performer, the empath, the healer. None of them are lies, but none of them are whole. These personas were born to protect you from frequencies too painful to feel. And now they've become prisons that you wear with pride. Shadow isn't what you hide from others. It's what you hide from yourself to keep functioning. It's the laugh when your body wants to collapse. The "I'm fine" spoken in the language of abandonment. It's the spiritual persona you constructed to bypass your own grief. Jung said, "What you do not bring to consciousness appears as fate." But here, fate is just an emotional frequency on repeat, attracting, breaking, looping. And your nervous system calls it normal. Your field has leaks, emotional micro-tears where your life force escapes. These aren't random. They're trauma echoes. The humiliation you joked about, the betrayal you spiritualized, the longing you silenced. Each memory becomes a wall inside your field, a layer of noise that blocks your signal. And eventually you stop trusting your own desires, mistaking trauma responses for intuition. Fragmentation isn't just psychological, it's energetic. Parts of your field are offline. Whole regions of your being have been shut down. That's why you sabotage, why you hesitate, why you can't receive even when it's safe. You want abundance, but you vibrate abandonment. You speak of love, but your cells are still screaming danger. The mind believes, the body doesn't, and your field never lies. Healing isn't adding more light. It's reintegrating what you banished. The child who felt too much, the teen who wanted to be seen, the adult who is tired of pretending. All these fragments are still vibrating, waiting for return. Until you stop operating from the version of you that just wants to survive, your life will keep echoing your disconnection. The field remembers, and the body never lies. You were told to raise your vibration, but no one warned you that bypassing pain isn't evolution, it's fragmentation. Today's spiritual market sells rituals, mantras, crystals, alignment. But frequency doesn't shift through trends. It transmutes through confrontation. Until you feel what you've avoided, you'll keep vibrating the void. Because this void isn't emptiness. It's dissonance. Too many foreign frequencies occupying your system. What we now call alignment has become a mask. Smiling faces saying "I'm in flow" while vibrating exhaustion. Soft voices speaking abundance while vibrating panic. Instagram grids radiating peace, but the nervous system behind them is in collapse. It's not about your words. It's about the static they carry. And most are transmitting spiritual scarcity camouflaged as gratitude. The mind glows. The field screams. Capitalism evolved. Now it doesn't just sell you products, and it sells you frequencies. High vibration became a brand. Self-love became a hashtag. Resonance became a performance. You say, "This doesn't align," when you mean, "I'm scared." You say, "I'm protecting my energy," when you're actually numbing out. This isn't spiritual growth, it's refined dissociation. And the more you spiritualize avoidance, the more fragmented your field becomes. You think you're free because you choose your meditation app. But energetic freedom isn't about options, it's about presence. Real freedom is the ability to stay whole in anger, in grief, in confusion. But the new prison only allows emotions that look light, and anything heavy gets labeled low vibe. But heaviness doesn't mean darkness. Sometimes it's depth, and avoiding it is spiritual anorexia. The market knows this. That's why it doesn't sell you presence, it sells you glow, it sells you identity. Courses to manifest, coaches to elevate, tools to rewire, all built on the same broken architecture, the belief that your power is still outside you. And as long as that belief vibrates, your field stays hollow. Eventually, the cost of repetition outweighs the fear of the unknown. And in that moment, rupture becomes the only option. Not because of discipline, but because your field is collapsing under the weight of frequencies that don't belong to you. The rituals stop working. The affirmations fall flat. The system glitches because the universe no longer responds to performance. It demands truth. Reconstruction doesn't begin with techniques. It begins with silence. Dense, uncomfortable, almost violent silence. In that stillness, you meet what you've run from. Ancestral sadness, collective fear, shame stored in your gut. These aren't emotions. They're invitations. And only those willing to feel can rebuild. No mantra replaces presence. No practice replaces truth. Reprogramming your emotional DNA is more physical than mystical. It means inhabiting your body as sacred ground, breathing inside the trauma instead of escaping it, standing present in the chaos. It means reclaiming your field from gurus, teachers, icons. You don't need more symbolism. You need anchoring, to walk barefoot, to speak without scripts, to let your body say what your soul is ready to release. You don't rebuild through accomplishments, you rebuild by releasing the need to prove. Your original frequency doesn't need to be discovered, it needs to be remembered, and memory takes courage. Because remembering who you are means losing everything built to be liked. Some friendships will dissolve, some identities will implode, but what emerges is coherence. And coherence is power. Real coherence doesn't shout, it doesn't sparkle. But when it arrives, the field responds. People shift, paths open, not because you manifested, but because you stopped lying energetically. This is reprogramming, leaving behind the frequency of denial and stepping into the vibration of wholeness. There comes a moment when there's nothing left to chase. The practices dissolve, the ego quiets, the identity fractures, and all that remains is the field, raw, honest, unmasked. In that moment, you realize the highest vibration is the one that doesn't need to perform. It just is. No justification, no audience, only truth. You don't need to be perfect to vibrate high. You need to be whole. You need to allow sadness to exist, to let doubt breathe, to stop fearing the heaviness. The field of freedom isn't made of lightness, it's made of presence. Every time you abandon yourself to belong, your frequency collapses. Every time you lie to keep peace, your coherence fractures. And every time you come home to yourself, trembling, unsure, messy, the field begins to align. It's subtle, but irreversible. A sense that something ancient just shut down, a vibrational contract revoked. You feel it in the bones, in the silence after the breakdown, in the stillness that no longer feels empty. Not because it's filled, but because you are finally there, fully. Now it's your turn. No more theory, no more pretending. Just a gesture, a symbolic act to anchor the new field, a silent vow to yourself, not to be better, not to be brighter, just to be present, because everything you've been seeking was never elsewhere. It was just waiting for your return. I return to my original frequency. I vibrate presence. Comment below. I return to my original frequency. I vibrate presence. Share this with anyone still caught in the noise of vibrational abandonment. And if you're ready to keep recalibrating your field, subscribe now. The highest frequency is being whole,